And don't you just hate fucking clean? Like, what the fuck, man? Who wants shit clean? Oh, look how clean, pristine everything is. Fucking wowie. I saw some, quite a few actually recently, artists showing their workspaces. And they're just like these fucking sanitary looking things, which I mean is probably best nowadays, right? Viruses and all. Keep things sanitary. But it just doesn't look remotely like everyone's different, everyone has their own means of doing things or whatever. But it doesn't look creative or interesting at all. Like, how do you work in a space that's like a clean table with two things on it, a laptop and, some paper and a couple of pens, and like some plants, but like neatly arranged plants on the shelf next to them, and a nice ergonomic chair or whatever, and it's all white and beige and like, wood panel flooring and shit. Fine, if that's what you're into, cool, but it feels so fucking, I don't know, cheap. It feels cheap creatively, but it feels expensive otherwise. Like, who can afford to really keep their shit all tidy and clean like that? Well, I'm okay with tidy. Tidy's fine. But when shit's just too clean, like filth and dirt and fucking and muck and shit and piss and blood and brains, fucking cum in my mouth and I got away from me a little bit there. It feels a little bit phony, because I think that sort of thing is usually in line with, the sort of quote unquote artists you see on Instagram who, it's always those fucking sponsored posts that you see people paying to force you to see their artwork even though you don't follow them. And they're always the worst, the most dull, uninteresting fucking artists. And their workspaces are like, oh, great day in the studio today. And their studio is like a fucking empty, clean, tidy, neat, pristine room. Like, how are you creating in this fucking space? Like, you're supposed to have evidence of work, of accidents, of failures and successes, as if that's a thing. Not like, it feels to me like they have their studio. Oh, that was a very rich in saliva sound. Like they have their studio spaces set up to take pictures in of, whatever it is they're doing, rather than their space being just a natural growth from them doing their thing in a space. It's, well, I want my studio to look like this because I saw some pictures on Pinterest or whatever, and it looked really nice. It was really quaint, like a little thing hanging above my desk, some inspirational quote that says, "Oh, piss inside me, daddy," or whatever. And they set it up so that they... Did you see I got really distracted after the piss in me, daddy? Evidently, I was thinking about being pissed in by... No, I'm the dad. I'm the daddy. I do the pissing. I wear the trousers. I do the pissing in this house. I don't know. It just feels a bit fake and forced. Like you've seen online what an artist is, what an artist does, what an artist can be. Oh, I can make a living as an artist. Yeah, let's try that out. Rather than it just being, something you do because that's what you've always done. That's all the good artists. And you can see through it. I believe, anyway, you can see through it. If you've got half a fucking molecule of sense in your stupid head, immediately you can see someone who's a legitimate artist because that's what they do, that's all they've ever done, that's all they know, that's what they're good at. And someone who, you see it a lot in like graffiti and street art and stuff, people who have jumped onto it because it's quite a hip thing to do, quite a hip thing to be because of fucking Banksy, more like wank. And they're shit. But of course, they can be very successful because they fool other stupid people into thinking, oh, art's great, it's nice, tidy little things, and that's art. And it's like, it can be, but it's the most dull, uninteresting kind of art. And they can make a living doing that by fooling people in galleries into, you know, whatever, fucking shit, piss, farts. Roar! Oh, do you like my bears? Do you like this? This was, normally I write notes, but I couldn't think of how to word the note. Was to do like, because when I draw naked females, I know they hate being called females, so I'll purposefully call them females. I'll often not draw the head, as I've said before, because if you fuck up the head, you fuck up the entire drawing. So you can, you know, if that happens, you can maybe crop the head out when you post it online, because that's the whole purpose of drawing, is to post it online. But then you still have this bit of paper with a fucked up head on it, and thus a fucked up drawing. So usually I cut them off, whatever. But I did think, what if you purposefully make the head fucked up? So like stretch it out and make it look. And I've got a couple of drawings where I have done that, where like one in particular, the girl didn't want me to draw her face. So I just drew like a head like this with her neck here, and then, you know, really nicely drawn, nicely rendered tits and shit. But then just a big silly head on top, just to be like, this is a head. So do that, but like more, like I rendered this just because I was bored, but like rendered and you know, shaded and stuff to fit in with it, but it just looks fucked up. So a whole series, maybe 2 or 3, before I get bored, of like that. It could be, that was a note. These are bears! Do you like my drawings of bears? I'm studying bear drawings. Oh, keep watching. Make sure you watch to the end to find out why. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Love when people do that shit. I'm looking at bears roaring currently. That's what shape bears are in the wild. I've been Google imaging them, and they are this shape in general, or in general, for the Latin X, fucking whatever. Yeah, man. Like I said in my recent video, if you take a look at the tiny sketchbook tour where I talk about my love for Nurgle, for a made-up fantasy fucking piece of lore, spelled Lore. It's all about decay and rot, which is something I heavily believe in and agree with. Like, I don't believe in a god, because, you know, why would you? Come on now. But if I did, I'd like it to be a god of nature and decay and rot and smelly fucking garbage and hooers, prostitutes with their legs wide open waiting for me to dive in head first, just fucking nut them right in the cunt. Yeah, take that, you bitch. I like dirt, man. Dirt doesn't hurt. There you go. I stole that from somewhere. I can't remember where, but I definitely stole it from somewhere. And it bugs me when art, because art's like, I shouldn't care, but because art is such like a personal thing to me, that I've made it a personal thing. It was a conscious choice, because I'm a fake, phony artist. Holden Caulfield would hate me because I'm a phony. He hated the phonies, didn't he? And it bugs me when people take art and, you know, make it watered down and fucking shitty. I guess it was somewhat fits in. A funny thing happened recently on Instagram. My friend Tom Blackford mentioned me in a comment on this guy's picture. I didn't actually get to it in time originally, but so basically this guy on Instagram, he has his Instagram page. I'm not going to promote it or whatever, but he had loads of photos of graffiti and street art from around the world, and then intermingled in with those pictures was screenshots from his website, on which he was selling prints of photos of people's graffiti and street art on walls. So take a picture of some graffiti, sell a print of it. He was selling them for like $100 or pounds or whatever. Quite, a hefty amount for a print of art. Like that's a lot. Like, if you can make that, cool, but that's a lot to ask. But then it was loads of like random, well, not random, but like a collection of different works by different, people, artists, whatever. Which is a bit weird anyway. But then, so Tom mentioned me in the comments of, because that's of one particular photo was the rat wall that he and I had painted, that Tom and I had painted, where he did like half a Mickey Mouse face, I did half a rat face, and then that got painted over, and then we went back like, because it was the day after we painted it, basically some chump painted over it, so we went back a couple of days later to repaint over it and painted them like zombie rats, and it was that second version, the zombie rats. He'd taken a picture of it and was selling prints of it for £100, dollars, whatever, and had never mentioned it to us at all. So that picture was on his Instagram, the screenshot of his website selling that print. Tom tagged me in it in the comments, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I lost the mention, I lost the guy's profile in my messages, my notifications or whatever. But then later that day, there was some more mentions. I'd seen many other people had commented on that picture of our painting saying, this is really shit, what are you doing, this isn't your artwork, you better be paying these guys. And they were all like, somewhat local people who know Tom and mine's work, who would look at that and be like, that belongs to Tom and Ewan, like, I hope you're paying them for this. And then he'd replied to loads of the comments, and there's like 10, 20 comments. He'd replied to them all being like, yeah, the artists are getting paid, they're getting paid. And then in one comment, he said, well, if they don't want the exposure, then they can ask me to delete it. And it's just like, the guy had, not to put anyone down for follower numbers or whatever, but he had like a couple hundred followers. And, Tom and I, we've got pretty decent followings. We don't need, that kind of help. And then Tom had commented saying, like, well, you have not replied to my comments. I've DM'd you. You've not replied to that. And there was nothing else. And then I had a little look on his page, and there was like no comments on any of his other photos or screenshots of other people's work that he was selling. But evidently the one of Tom and mine's artwork, people noticed and were like, that one we know, and you're a fucking piece of shit for trying to sell that. And then, not to boast, it's probably a coincidence, but I left a comment because I normally stay out of this shit. I don't care enough. It's not in me. I want to care, and I want to be like, how dare you do this? This is fucking blasphemy. Take it down. I don't have it inside me to pull out, to really care enough to get involved. But I left a comment saying, every one of the comments on here is calling you out. Just delete the thing already. Like, that's it. And then I checked back later on. All the screenshots were deleted from his page. He, as far as I can tell, was not selling prints anymore. So now it's all just photos of graffiti. It's none saying I'm selling prints of another person's work. And I clicked on his website, which is now, it says there is nothing here. The website's there, but there's nothing on it. He's not selling anything. So he obviously realised, shit, people are on to me. Fuck, I've been rumbled. I almost feel bad, but you know, at the end of the day, he's a cunt. Everybody sing along. Let's take a look at an art book. Oh, we love that. Oh, Ewan's got a theme tune for a bit on his podcast. This is We Come at Night, a corporate street art tag. Really kind of iffy about this one. I picked it up because it looked relatively interesting, and there was one particular part of it that interested me. So I took the book. I might have even stolen it, actually. This was around the time I was doing those kinds of things, so it might be a product of that. So I took the book thinking, oh, cool, that's cool, I'll take that. But the actual part of it I really like is like this much compared to the whole thing. Basically, there's a place, a town in Germany called Wuppertal, or something like that. And Red Bull paid for a bunch of artists to do street art projects in there. Wuppertal. So a bunch of artists were given artist grants, I guess, to do projects all in one night, so that the next day there's like this, you know, unauthorized exhibition all around the city of all these different artists, which is like they kept all, like, you know, you wouldn't know this is Red Bull or anything. I think the logo is in the back there. It's not like this is a Red Bull, you know, project publication or whatever. So they did well to do that, and they don't seem to have, you know, forced the artists to compromise the work they're doing or whatever. And it's a little bit iffy because it's like the work they're doing is in a lot of parts illegal, and Red Bull have funded this, so I'm not sure how they got around that because it's all documented. And this came with a DVD documentary about the thing, which is like kind of cool, but I lost that ages and ages ago. So I mean, there's a bunch of artists, more street artists than graffiti artists, but they have like a you know, graffiti backgrounds or stuff. Zev's is pretty cool. He does some pretty inventive stuff, and I do like this that he's doing, using a power washer to write in the dirt on walls. And I've seen quite a few instances of people doing that, of like, you know, tunnel walls that cars are driving through all day, every day for years and years and years and years and years. And then people clear away or clean away the dirt in certain ways to draw pictures. And, you know, the classic line is graffiti is the application of a medium to a surface. So is this technically graffiti? Because he's taking away from the surface, or if anything, he's not applying anything. He's cleaning the wall, not wholly, but he's cleaning it. So that's quite a neat idea. I like that. It's like, I like playing with that. It gets a little bit kind of art, apologies for the term, art faggy, a bit cunty if you go over the top with it. But in essence, I'm down with the idea. Zast was like, the whole thing was creating a brand that nobody knew what it was, and he had these letters that he put in places. I don't know, it's sort of whatever. I don't even like how the lettering looks, but Ozgemios, they're pretty huge globally. The twins that paint these yellow-faced people. I like something about their work, but on the whole, I'm not a fan. I'm not entirely sure how they've gotten as popular as they are. I think maybe it's because of the amount they do and the scale of the stuff they do. It's probably what got them sort of notoriety. These people were buffing graffiti as their project, which is a bit like... There's some really nice letters, actually. Zico. What's that? Tiork? There's a really nice couple of like basic throw-up pieces or whatever. Hips. Some nice letters there, man. I really always did love the navy blue letters with the white outline and then the blue border. I'd rather look at that wall than that wall. I mean, it's your art and that's what you're doing, and you've got just as much right to paint that as they have to paint that, so it's whatever. But if that's your project, that's your project. Cool. Not really into it. Sort of meh. These are quite cool. Mr. Horse made loads of these wooden horses. I quite like the look of them. They're quite basic, kind of dumb looking, but like nice in that respect. And left loads of them around the city, which is called like little ones. So then I guess, yeah, the next day the city wakes up or whatever, and there's all these wooden horses left everywhere. That's quite neat. I quite like the idea of that. That if you were just walking to work, you might bump into a few of them. And then that happened, which I guess was a natural part of the progression of that particular artwork as they get like smashed and vandalised and stuff. A little book of drawings of them. Mare's from way back in the day, from the old movie Style Wars. So a classic old school graffiti writer, he made this sculpture, which is sort of like modern art kind of looking thing, but it is like graffiti shapes and movements with the arrow and stuff. I don't hate it, but it's sort of like meh. This is kind of a little bit too just street art for me. It's just whatever, people painting pretty shapes and things. It's not bad, but doesn't hold my interest. It's not for me, I guess. JR, from the little I've seen of him, bit of an egotistical douche. For someone whose art is taking pictures of people, blowing them up, and then wheat pasting them on places. It can work as a spectacle, and he's some of his work I've seen. Like, is it Brazil or somewhere where they have like the shanty towns or whatever going up the side of a mountain? It's just loads and loads of like huts and shacks and things, and then he's put huge, pasted up photos of people's eyes, and that's quite cool looking. But there's like one or two things of his I've seen that I kind of like, and like I say, he seems like a bit of a poo. That's my opinion. I don't know, whatever. These people painted a bunch of shit white, which is kind of cool. I had an idea way back in the day to paint my local skate park pink, just all the ramps, just paint them completely like bright pink. I just thought it would look cool. Never ever got anywhere close to doing it, but it was an idea. I painted the rocks and the bench and stuff white. It's kind of neat, kind of cool. I quite like that. This guy did drippy stuff, which is has its place, but it's like whatever, I guess. Blue. This was the one. I spoke about him. He was in. It might have been last episode. The Street Sketchbooks book. I'll get onto him because he was the reason. This other guy actually had an actual exhibition in a gallery space. His works, whatever. I mean, this is quite a cool one actually, because it's got. So his name's Brom, I guess. And it is like a B, an R, an O, and an M, but it's like a horse. That's quite neat. Quite a good play on the makeup of letters and stuff. Some words about the project and whatever. Photographers. Martha Cooper, obviously she's, Subway Art Style Wars. That was her. She's pretty big. One of the biggest graffiti documentarians. And Red Bull. So it's all a bit like meh. And frankly, the work shown is not mind-blowing. Some of it's quite cool. Some of it has a nice idea, but ultimately is meh. And Blue, one of the most interesting artists, frankly, for his style, the stuff he does. Not great examples of what he does, but they've not documented it brilliantly. I think they could have given a lot more space to... Like, this is the only photo they show of this piece, but I'd love to see this finished. But they don't. But the most interesting part, which they show here, is this thing he made. Yeah, so the idea behind your project: 6,000 books of drawings placed everywhere around central streets, train stations, bus stops, traffic lights, and any other place people would usually walk. A gift for all the people going to work or school the next day. It was kind of a street art takeaway exhibition. If you like the piece, you can take it home. The magazines were completely anonymous, and I think most of the people will never know that I did it. Printed the books in my city, brought everything to Whooptall in a van. They went out, distributed all these zines in boxes everywhere. And then I guess he did the paintings alongside that. He couldn't have done all those paintings in one night, though. Getting one of those done in a night would be a lot of work. It might have been done in the run-up to the thing. But I guess his actual... So maybe that was all, like, done around the main project, but his main thing with the money and everything was these. So his drawings, they're not the best, like, technically apt drawings, but they're good still. You know, they have a naivete about them or whatever. Fucking cunt ewan, Jesus. But they have really strong ideas. Giant pencil about to crush the people. And then, so like I say, yeah, like I say, like it says here, got 6,000 of these printed, just black and white drawings in a book with happy photo on the cover. They look like they're pretty decent quality as well. And just put them everywhere in a city. So when the fuck was this? 2006 or 7 or something? 2008 maybe? Does it say? Is there a date anywhere? Maybe in the back? Oh, the publishing notes were at the back, weren't they? 2008. Yeah, so I was making my own like zines and stuff around that time anyway. Then I saw this and I was like, fuck that. That is exactly what I want to do. I still have yet to do it because primarily of money and stuff. Everything I've sort of self-published, I've had to sell to make what little money I can. But I'd love to do that. To make a book, a zine. Like my Ballpoints book, I think is the closest I've gotten to it, the thinner one. Where like, if I could get this mass-produced, maybe, you know, black and white might be the better option, but I'd love to do it in colour and just leave piles of them fucking everywhere. But somewhere good that appreciates art, because where I am now, they just get tossed in the river or in the bin or whatever. And not that wouldn't happen in somewhere like London, but at least more people in London or wherever, or foreign countries, better places than England, would maybe appreciate it. And even if they don't appreciate it, at least it's out there. At least you're doing a thing. But yeah, I was really bummed out that like these 3 images are the only showing of that. Like they show his paintings and that's cool. Whatever. Not even his best paintings, but they show his paintings. But then his main part of the project that he used the money he was given for was these 6,000 books. And that's all they show. I'm just like, come on, fucking make a good book. What are you doing? But yeah, I found that very inspirational, especially to, what would that be, fucking 13 years ago now? Jesus. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. That's the end of that. And now here's the next bit. I find a lot of times when I'm looking for images of something, or, you know, reference pics or whatever, the obvious go-to is Google Images. You know, it's simple. You don't even now, with how shit works, if you have Google Chrome as your browser, you don't even have to go to the Google page. You just type in the bar at the top, photo of bear. Click it and it goes straight to the Google page and it brings up whatever you want. And so, let's go with a boo. Bish, bash, bosh, as they say. What I'll usually do, depending on what it is, if it's just like a quick object, like what does this kind of gun look like, then type the gun, there's a picture of it, draw it. But if it's something that could be a bit more complicated, like a fucking bear, then what I'll usually do is type something bear illustration, which will bring up drawings other people have done of, for instance, a bear. I find that to be very useful to see how other people go about drawing things. Yeah. So it's all well and good to look at pictures of bears and go, well, that's what a bear looks like. I guess I'll try to draw that. And, to the best of your ability, copy the images you're seeing. But it can be very, very good and smart and sensible to see what other people do when they draw bears. I've used bears as an example because that's what I'm doing now. Because you can see which bits they emphasise to make it more bear-shaped, or which bits they leave out, which is just as important as which bits to put in. If they make them stylised in any way, if there's any sort of tips and tricks you can gather from seeing how other people approach drawing bears. So, for instance, the only bear thing I really know of is I thought it was called Bear Brother. Turns out it's called Brother Bear. I've not seen it. I just know it's an animation where a guy turns into a bear or some shit. I don't know. I recall that specifically because I remember first seeing it. Or not, obviously I've not seen it, but seeing of it, images and stuff. And then the bears in it, they really emphasise this bit here. So this is the bear. Let's go fuck on my black ink. Let's do this. So there's a bear's eye. They've got, very human features, obviously, because it's Disney animation or whatever. Is it Disney? Yeah, it is. I've got my Google Images open next to me, and it has the Walt Disney logo. So yes, it's Disney. News. I'm literally just copying a picture on the screen right now. A little underneath bit of the nose. I figured out the noses are roughly hexagonal if you're going to do that. It looks quite a lot like Winnie the Pooh, actually, which makes sense since it is a fucking bear. The mouths are a bit of an odd shape, but I guess that's whatever. They're fucking bears. They're allowed to have odd-shaped mouths. The other eye's sort of closer here. Very anime-looking bear. Top of the head goes like that, kind of. And the ear. And the other is hidden. And then bears have like two sets of cheeks almost. I'll put that in there just because. So they have big fluffy cheeks and then like an outer set of cheeks almost. And then the fur comes down here. And then, so my point being, Brother Bear really emphasised this bit of fur here, which I always thought was strange when I first saw pictures or anything of the animation. But then, you Google like grizzly bear, and they have like a tuft. What have they got, a scruff of the neck or whatever? When I first saw it, I thought it looks like they're wearing hoods. It looks like he's wearing a hoodie, like a big fluffy hoodie, which might be an actual choice by the designers, because from Googling it, there's like native people or whatever who do wear, I guess, animal skin coats, and they have fluffy hoods. So it may be, whilst bears do have this fluff fur thing going on, the emphasis of that, besides being a design choice just in terms of stylising the bear, may be an active choice to make them look more like humans, because as I understand it, I think a person gets turned into a bear or something. I think that's what happens in the film. So that's quite a neat little, it's a link to show that there's a bit more similarities visually from bear to human. Like if you put their silhouettes together because of the hood and everything, they'd have it. I don't fucking know. That's just, it might just be bears have that, because some bears do have that. I think it's usually like grizzly mountain bears kind of bears as opposed to black bears. Because the bear I'm more focusing on is like black bears. I think the ones I found from a small amount of Googling is like Asiatic black bears. So I'll have to do some more sort of research on those. And those are the ones that are like, it's a black bear like this, but then they've got like a wild kind of mane and their body. And the muzzles of bears, I mean, everyone knows what a bear looks like, and I've maybe seen them in hundreds, if not thousands, of films and shows and books and whatever. But the muzzles can be quite a lot longer than I expected. Like in this drawing, that's, I mean, not hugely accurate, but somewhat accurate. Like, they look a lot like dogs, which is not, you know, I think one of the tricks to drawing animal anatomy is like if you can get one animal really, really well drawn or get their anatomy sort of memorized in your head or whatever, then that's a good basis for drawing pretty much any other animal because they're all based off the same basic structure, aren't they? So if you can get like a dog drawn, then you can draw bears, foxes, fucking, I don't know, deer maybe. Horses are a whole other thing. So, I mean, as long as you know which bones go where and sort of learn where the meat hangs, as it were, then you could probably be all right. So bears look like dogs. I think when I was drawing this, I was like, it just looks like a fucking dog. But then it's like the shit you draw around the dog parts that make it look like a bear or fucking whatevs. I don't fucking know. So why am I drawing better? Well, glad you didn't ask. So I've had this idea for quite some time. Let me just scroll on the image page, see if I can get anything else cool to draw. Oh, that's pretty violent looking. I Google imaged bear raw, so I'm just looking at lots of pictures of bears doing that. That's quite a good one. So I've had this idea for quite a while. I wanted to do some sort of like graphic novel or something on the theme of some kind of mental health, depression or whatever. Something I'm dealing with to make people understand what I'm going. Whatever, just something like something useful. Gun Viking's cool, but like that's sort of where it stops. Is it looks cool, but what's it for? So it would be nice, I think, to at least try and do something with meaning to it. So I've had the idea for a while, for quite some time, to do something mental health related. So in my recent talks with my, I guess, therapist or fucking mental health professional, whatever, we speak a lot about, you know, where thoughts and emotions come from and fit into, in evolutionary terms, like as, you know, fear as defense mechanisms against whatever. And we ended up, through not trying to, but it just happened that we, you know, sort of came up with this metaphor of, you know, the caveman brain, as it were, being the hunter-gatherer, being scared of bears, and therefore, you know, the fear response is a natural thing that keeps you safe. So being scared is a survival tool. It has a reason and a purpose. And then there's loads of stuff about, you know, focusing on certain things and trying to get your mind to adapt to working in a certain way. You know, CBT, cock and ball torture, cognitive behavioural therapy, whatever, to get better at mental health. So the idea, this metaphor, I think the ones that a lot of like mental health professionals tend to use is to do with like thoughts in a filing cabinet, and you've got to access these thoughts at these times so that you don't get clogged up in your cabinets or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But then, yeah, so me and my therapist, me being the creative genius I am, my therapist being sort of okay, I guess, ended up inadvertently coming up with a better metaphor, which is the cave bear metaphor. And I have to admit, during our latest session, we were talking about it more in our latest session. I probably didn't listen as much as I should have because I spent a lot of the time concocting this idea of a graphic novel about a guy or group of people, like ancient, cave dwelling people fighting off cave bears. I'm trying to think of an example. I'm going to need to like write stuff down, but one of the examples of like applying it to your life is I got nothing. Oh yeah. So if you have a trauma, a memory or a flashback of trauma, the easiest response, at least for me, is to just try and ignore it, make it go away, think of something else, do something else, get rid of it, just stop thinking about it because it affects you. It affects how you sleep, diet and exercise and your day-to-day life. It can affect that in a great many negative ways. So that would be akin to, well, no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. But the what you should at least try and do, and what therapy aims to help you do, is when those thoughts and flashbacks come up, is to try and face them, and whilst you're having it, try to get some grounding and understand, okay, what's happening in this thought or flashback? Where am I now? How are things different? Try to fight against the immediate sort of runaway response. Like if you were an ancient fella out in the wild and you saw a cave bear and you run away, the cave bear is still out there. And now the cave bear, he's learning. So the cave bear knows that you're just going to run away. You're not going to attack it. So the cave bear can sometimes get stronger. Like in your mind, you're not allowing the fucking synapses or whatever to connect in such a way that would allow you to fight off these memories. So the memories will keep coming back and potentially stronger and worse. So you've got to develop some sort of system for fighting against that. So the guy fighting the cave bears or hunting or whatever has to eventually learn the cave bears aren't going away. They're still out there. They're clawing at the cave entrance. So you've got to fucking knuckle down, sharpen your spear up and fucking jab it in the eye. And so I figured I could use that in my art, man. That's what artists do. They take all that shit and fucking make art out of it. Or something, I don't know. Yeah, like a graphic novel of a decent size. I think it would be cool to do all ballpoint artwork. Some nicely rendered, lots of like scratchy stuff because I want it to be fairly energetic, of a personal persons in the wilderness, wrapped in animal skins with spears and shit, hunting down this elusive big black cave bear. And so I'm drawing bears now for that reason, to like get me used to drawing bears. But then the actual one, like I say, I want it to be more like fucking giant, monstrous, gnarly black bear, which I think I'm still debating on how to format, this book that I've got the idea for. I might have it as like a silent comic with no words in it, and then at the end have like an explanation of this is the idea of it with regards to trauma and whatever, and here's the story laid out in those terms. So now you can go back and read it with that in mind and maybe take something else from it. So have some like energetic artwork, some more nicely rendered artwork, a nice painted cover, which will like contrast the black and white insides, which could be shit but could be good. I just think it would be cool. It would be cool to do as a project, but it also, I think, it's the sort of thing I might be able to get a grant for. Because if you apply for an art grant, they almost always will want whatever work you're creating. It has to have like purpose in like the community or for the greater good. It can't just be, I want to make a comic about a Viking with guns and it's going to be really cool and there'll be heads coming off and some chick with big tits in it, because they'll just say no. But if it's to do with mental health and helping people understand and get through trauma, then they might be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And I'm currently a working artist. I've been published here and there in a few places. I'm not someone who's making shitloads of money, so a grant could be really helpful. And then maybe they'll pay enough money that I can spend some time making the comic and get it published and get it out there, which would be quite fucking cool. Yeah. And of course, the big black bear. I'm saying this just because, if there's, for instance, one person who's caused trauma in your life or whatever, I'm going to be very careful to not give that person any power. So the black bear represents memories and nightmares, for instance, flashbacks. So you're trying to fight against the memory of the bad thing. The bad person can go fuck themselves entirely. You're not giving them enough importance or power that you're going to make a whole character in this comic based on them. If I was going to do that, they'd be a little worm and they'd get cut into lots and lots of little pieces and then thrown into a fire, because fuck them completely. But it's the black bear, the cave bear, is the metaphor of hunting. It is you trying to take back control over the dreams, the flashbacks that plague your mind, that stop you from living potentially the best life you could lead or whatever. And that's important too, because I've spoken a little bit here and there about certain traumatic events and stuff that have happened in my past that they've really, I guess, with not giving the person responsible power, you can realise that you inadvertently have, by basically, in my case, building my entire personality for my whole life of over 30 years now. I guess the last 20 or so from that point, basing my identity, what I am, what I choose to be, around actively trying not to be this person who caused me, so much strife and whatever, and fear and terror at my own existence. So it's, you don't want to give that person the power over you that you're giving them that much thought and attention, but inadvertently you are, or I have been, by doing that. So the fight then is almost against yourself, of taking back control or whatever, but also, I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess, but I think you understand sort of where I'm coming from. And if you don't, fuck yous. It's my trauma, I'll fucking do what I want with it. I'll draw bears. See how much this looks like a dog. You've got the eyes there. And then, like I say, one set of fluffy cheeks and another set of fluffy cheeks. And then the bear ears. And then it's a bear and not a dog. Still looks a little bit like a dog, but a bit less dog-like. So that's, you know, I feel like in recent years, it's only in recent years I've realised why I sort of act certain ways and do certain things and don't do certain things, because of, you know, trauma in my past, and having the therapist say that's literally like almost the definition of PTSD. And then it's a realization, it's a shock to my system to be like, fuck, okay, I know that now. That's a thing, I guess. Wow. Now what? So now I'm in the process of trying to take control of that. But especially lately, I've really been, like I mentioned before in the other podcast about me. Oh, I'm struggling right now, guys. There's a lot going on, but you know, a lot of things have been coming up recently, and you know, I'm struggling to cope with a multitude of things. I'm really struggling with finishing things, getting things done, commissions or my own projects, gun Viking pages, whatever it may be. But I'm trying. Oh, fucking shut up. Jesus. Shall we look? This is my new sketchbook that I made, kind of. I made out of other sketchbooks. Some stickers by my friend Azram. I like that name, Azram. Almost sounds like an Egyptian god or something, but also sounds like ass ram. And really, don't we all just want our asses rammed? Oh. Well, that's the gun Viking that I drew, the first page. I've done a little bit more to it. Not much. Covered the arm with bandages because I didn't really like how the arm looked. It doesn't need to be anatomically correct, but it looked bum, so I put bandages on it. I might do some more to that at some point. I might not. Some girl, I'll finish that at some point. This is part of my girls in dresses. That's a drawing of her that I stuck in there as a nice thing. Oh, nice flower. Naruto! I fucked up the head, so I drew it again on paper and stuck it down, but it's way too big, but it's Naruto. It doesn't fucking matter, does it? I posted a picture of this one, and everyone was like, oh no, someone's forcing you to draw Naruto for a commission. And I was like, yeah, forced for a... I don't like Naruto really. I'm completely indifferent to it. I don't really hate him. I don't like him. I have no feelings toward him or it as a work of fiction at all. I just thought it'd be funny to have some Naruto sketches in my sketchbook. You've got girls in dresses and things, and it's fucking Naruto. What the fuck? And I might do some more big sort of expressive Naruto stuff here. That's quite cool. Nice. And I will, you know, as I've said before, I don't like to use whole new pages all the time. I like to just fill in spaces, so I will fill all this in with doodles, which I think will be quite cool to have just doodles and shit around here with this nice bit in the middle, and same for like this and stuff. More, I like this. This is nice, a nice page. I might draw something here, there, and everywhere. So it's not much, you know. That's sort of how I work in sketchbooks. I don't do like fill this page, then fill this page, and then whatever. I, you know, try to find the necessary space to draw this, and then, you know, go back and fill in the gaps as and when appropriate. Really happy with that. And then bears. I might try to get a nice like painting of a bear on this page over the tits. That'd be quite a nice contrast, like a nice roaring bear face here, and some doodly dudes of bears here and here. And that's where we're at with this sketchbook. Should be a good one, I think. When this is all finished, this will make for a nice sketchbook tour video in the end, won't it? That's what counts. More content, more likes, more attention, more valid.